Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Remember, if a bear puts on socks and shoes, he still has bare feet. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at French and Indian War Solitaire from Worthington Publishing. French and Indian War Solitaire is a solitaire game, and the player will take on the role of either the British, the French, in this iconic conflict of the 18th century. So you're going to decide which faction you want to play, the British or the French, but you're going to set up the game board so that you have a number of militia, one militia each for each faction in each of the four areas on the board. You will also have armies, and you'll be able to decide where to begin with your armies and transfer them because they're going to be more powerful than just your regular militia. Each of the spaces, or three of the spaces rather, will have Indian tracks, which will kind of track if the Indians are allied to one side, the other, or if they are neutral. In the far right track, you will actually have kind of the sea lanes, and you'll fight for sea control there instead of the Indian tracks. Now, the gameplay is very similar to a lot of these other solitaire games that we've seen from Worthington. Here, instead of rolling a dice to determine your AP, you actually consult a track that tells you on what turn how many action points you're going to get, and you set your action point marker there. Now, with your action points, you can do different things. You can attempt to battle the various militias and armies in the different spaces. Essentially, your token is adjacent to it. You're trying to roll to advance. If you advance, they fall back one, and you advance into that space. If you don't, if you're not successful in the die roll, then you don't. You just hold where you are. You may also attempt to influence the Indian tracks. You can roll the die, hoping to get the Indians onto your side, or at least to keep them neutral. Next, you can go ahead and attack the naval squadron in the Atlantic region. You can do that in the hopes of making it easier for you to advance, your army to advance in that section. Now, after you've completed all of your actions, you're going to roll a die to see what the bot does. You're going to consult their tile to see exactly what they are going to do in the game. So you're going to see what they accomplish. You're going to carry that out. They may attack you. They may try to influence the Indian tracks. They might try to take naval supremacy in the Atlantic Ocean. But you go ahead, you resolve whatever their attacks are or whatever the events are. And then when that is completed, then you go ahead and advance the turn marker to the next turn and prepare for your next turn. Now, you win the game immediately if you can occupy 3 of the 4 flag towns. These are kind of the starting spaces on their side of the track. If you can occupy 3 or 4 of them, you win immediately. However, the AI will win immediately if they can occupy 2 of your flag towns. However, if nobody has won by the end of the 20th turn, you go to scoring. You're going to score different things here. For instance, for every flag town of your enemies that you control, you score 4 points. You score 2 points for every region in which the Indians are allied to you, and you score 1 point for every fortified town that you have captured. Additionally, you score a point if you control the Atlantic region. Now, you add up all your points, you add up the AIs, and if you have at least 5 more points than the AI, then you win! French and Indian Solitaire.
We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, French and Indian Solitaire. This is another one of these pocket travel solitaire games. They're very small. Components are very small, but there's a lot of game in there. And just like the other games in this series, there's a lot of luck. You've got a lot of dice rolls. Now, again, if this game lasted, 2 hours, I wouldn't like it. It would be way too much dice rolling for what you're getting. But these games last 20, 30 minutes. They are not long games, and they tell great stories, and there's moments where you're biting your fingernails because you need a die roll or you are desperately hoping the enemy doesn't get the die roll that they get. These are very fun, very quick, very clever games. And this particular one is interesting, where you've got the Indian tracks, you've got, of course, the Atlantic squadrons there, and then, of course, the basic attacks in all the regions. Now, I have to say, of all of these kind of pocket solitaire games I've played, this one was probably my least favorite. Now, I enjoyed it, I had fun with it, but at the same time, it felt like in each of the regions it was a little samey what I was doing. And in other games, I kind of feel like where the tracks are kind of, I don't know, it felt more consequential to me. And here it just felt like, well, I'm kind of spinning plates in all of these tracks. I enjoyed it. It was fun for what it is. I think it's a good game. But again, it's probably my least favorite of the series so far. Still, if you're looking for a good pocket travel game, this series is definitely one to look at. And if you like this theme, this may be the game for you. So for me, on the Cody scale, I'm going to go ahead and give French and Indian Solitaire a 6. I think it's a fun game. I enjoyed it. I do think there are better games in this series. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again today here on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we would ask you to please leave a comment here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on X. We love to hear back from you. We would ask you to please like this video and subscribe to our channel. That really helps us out. We would also ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson PhD, where I talk about military history and books on history, fun things like that. I even post some of my lectures on there. I would humbly ask you to click on that channel and subscribe to it as well. And also, too, if you really do like the kind of content we bring to you here on The Discriminating Gamer, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, I went to the doctor the other day, and he said that my DNA was backwards. And I'm like, and?
That moment when you've negotiated with another player to lend you support of his army so you can take a stronghold, and then he reveals a march token. It's amazing. All your hopes and aspirations fall fast to the Ned Stark's head. Spoiler alert. Spoiler, I was supposed to say spoiler alert before the Ned Stark's head decapitation part. There should have been a spoiler alert right there.